Jim, we talked about Cobalt Strike and Armitage a couple of times before, didn't we?
Indeed, we did. Yeah, we've actually had our friend Raphael here on the show before and worked with him quite a bit and love his products and his stuff. So any opportunity to talk further about this stuff is a joy and a thrill indeed. And
correct me if I'm wrong, you two have both done the CCDC thing together too, right?
This is true. This is true. I've only done it once at the finals, and there's another one coming up. But yes, indeed.
Excellent. Well, let's get it going then, and welcome returning friend of the show, our good friend Raph Mudge. Raph, thanks, brother, for taking the time. We look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I'm really excited. It's been a long time coming getting this follow-up podcast.
Yep.
Yes, it has. I'd like to point out that it's all Jim's fault.
Yeah, I thought I was some sort of geeky technical guy, but nope. I was completely wrong about that. I have no idea what I'm doing, really.
He has no idea what he's doing, Raph. Remember that when you're at CCDC next time, okay? Point that out.
So funny about Jim is at CCDC last year, I was watching as he was teaching other people how to use Armitage, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever that I'm at an event, I wrote this tool, I don't have to teach anybody how to use it because Jim was doing it. I'm like, man,
this
is kind of cool.
I was a new guy there. I think the guy I was paired with had maybe done it before, but anyway, not to toot my own horn too much, but...
let's bring you back down to earth. No matter how good you can teach Armitage and Cobalt Strike, the brother can't do a Google Plus Hangout.
Yeah, I still did screw that up, so we'll see how this one goes.
All right, well, let's get into it. Raph, what do you got for us tonight, man?
All right, so we're going to do a demo of Cobalt Strike, and we're going to do an engagement against my test lab, and we're going to go a little bit dangerous here.
Ooh.
And dangerous, good. We're not just going to do the test lab like, okay, here's me going against my local network. We're going to actually do this as a collaborative op via Amazon's Elastic Computing Cloud. Let me go ahead and set up screen sharing.
I'm putting on my pig hat because we're getting dangerous here. I have to put on my safety pig hat.
Absolutely. Let's see the pig hat. Very cool, very cool. Can you see my screen okay, Jim?
Absolutely, yeah, coming through loud and clear.
Let's go ahead and go right through an engagement from the perspective of Cobalt Strike. I think that's the best way to tell the story. Now, one of the things I think is really cool about Cobalt Strike is it's a tool for executing targeted attacks. And the first place you start with any engagement is, anybody?
Reconnaissance.
Yes, reconnaissance, right? We need to understand the attack surface before we actually try throwing bad things at our target's network. So the tool that you would use in Cobalt Strike to understand your target's client-side attack surface is called a system profiler. If I go to Attacks, Web Drive-By, System Profiler, this is going to stand up a web application that will use some JavaScript magic and a Java applet even to try to understand which applications that your target has. And once it's had its way with anybody that visits it, it can actually redirect the person to a normal website. Now, when I used to do red teaming work, what I used to like to do is send LinkedIn invitations to people, maybe one person per office, get a few people to click, find out what I could about their systems, and then I had the info I needed to create a virtual machine and try to figure out what attack would work best.
LinkedIn fakes work all the time.
Absolutely.
They just work all the time. They're magic.
Let's go ahead and hit launch, kick that off, and we now have a system profiler running in Amazon's Elastic Computing Cloud. Now I'm going to show you something else that's really unique to Cobalt Strike that we didn't get to talk about last time because it just didn't exist. You can actually connect Cobalt Strike to multiple servers at one time. Like right now, you can see I'm connected to the same EC2 server as Jim and Dave. Over here to localhost, this is a local Cobalt Strike instance connected to the Metasploit framework locally. And I'm going to use this to actually go ahead and kick off my spear phishing attack. So let's go ahead and do this. Attacks, spear phish, and let's go choose a template.
So you're on your local Metasploit install, and you're going to set up the spear phish, and you're going to point to your Strike server in the cloud. Is that right?
Absolutely. So I'm going to hit embed URL, and Cobalt Strike is going to show me all the URLs that I've set up across all the servers that I'm connected to.
Okay.
So you get this kind of like nice multiple points of presence thing. In this case, my lab isn't exposed to the internet, so I have to do the phishing locally. So let's go ahead and hit choose. And what I've just done is I've chose a template, a LinkedIn template, which is just a saved LinkedIn email with no modifications, and Cobalt Strike will rewrite it for me. I'm going to go ahead and put in the IP address of my mail server, and everything else looks good to me here. If I had a mail server out on the internet that I needed to put in a username and password for or use SSL to connect to, I could do that, but not necessary today. And I need targets, so let's go ahead and click here, and we'll go targets A. And we're going to send this first email to Jim Stevens, so let's go ahead and hit send. And there we go. Fish sent.
Now these templates, and you know, if this is offensive, let me know. But are you using the same templates as the set, or are they interchangeable, or do you have your own, or what is where are these coming from?
That's a fantastic question. So the question was, am I using the same templates as SAT or any other popular spear phishing tool? And one of the things that's unique about Cobalt Strike, there is no template format. Its templates are saved emails.
Ah, you could use real fish and make your own. Oh, okay.
For example, let me show you. Let's go to my little phishing folder on here, and let's go ahead and open up LinkedIn. This is actually a phishing email that was sent to me from somebody else who is trying to pretend to be the LinkedIn corporation. Okay? So depending on the kind of threat you want to emulate, maybe you don't want to emulate full-out nation-state level actor. Maybe you want to emulate like just the garbage you get in your Google spam box. You can do that. Just go to your Google spam box, grab a message, save it, and Cobalt Strike can rewrite it for you and turn it into a phishing attack.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's
Very
all
cool.
we've done.
That's cool.
And I think Cobalt Strike, and SET doesn't do this, although I think it'd be a great thing if it did. Other phishing tools expect you to compose a message yourself,
Right.
where Cobalt Strike you don't do that. There's no message composability. It's fire it and go.
And everyone's got, you know, at least everyone as crazy as us will probably have their own little library of fish.
Oh, you think?
So yeah, we've got tons of templates to choose from.
Absolutely.
Neat.
So let's go ahead and go over. I'm going to go play the victim for a moment. And I'm going to go ahead and click on my LinkedIn message. Let's go ahead and do this. So there we go. And let's go ahead and click. And I see magic happening. And I'm now at LinkedIn.com as the victim. And what do you guys see up on your screens?
Ah, there you go.
I see
Yes.
the host popping up. So I see a big fiery brick wall and then the Windows host.
Yep, and you can also see in the event log that we received a profile.
Yep, received profile from X IP address with 7 applications.
Yep, so if you went to view weblog, you could actually see, and any of us can do this, you can see everything that's hit us. But if we want to analyze this information, we can go to view applications, and here I can see all the applications that the system profiler discovered. Okay?
Oh,
And pretty cool. I mean, this is a tool. It's like, I think of it as like Nmap for a client-side attack.
Yeah, and you're seeing this from inside because it's on the client side. You don't have that restriction if you're just trying to penetrate from, you know, the outside through, like you said, Nmap or do just total random, you know, Metasploit or Armitage, even Recon. You actually get a much better view of this.
Yep.
Absolutely. And you can see we've got the external IP, the internal IP. And I can go ahead and hit like an application, like for example, Adobe Reader, hit Show Exploits, and I see that Adobe Reader 9.4 is potentially vulnerable to this Adobe Reader U3D memory corruption vulnerability. I can go ahead and just highlight all of these applications, and I can see all the things that Cobalt Strike thinks that this particular host is vulnerable to that are in the Metasploit framework. Okay?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty handy stuff.
That's nice
So-
because you're taking a lot of the guesswork out, right? Your reconnaissance is actually extremely targeted. Now you know exactly what version they have and exactly which exploits to use on that box. Talk about efficiency.
And that's the goal, right? I mean, with phishing, you only get one try.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you don't want to squander it.
That's right.
Especially as a pen tester, I mean, some blue teams, especially people who haven't been on the red side, they expect magic out of a pen tester when they hire them. They want to see it. And so this really helps you kind of get the info you need while staying under the radar, and then actually fire off something that you're confident that's going to work.
Yep.
Right now, the popular client-side whipping boy is Java.
Yep.
And one of the problems with the attacks in the Metasploit framework is that they're pretty well caught by antivirus, right?
Of course, especially McAfee.
Well, yeah, researchers do a really good job, McAfee included, picking up the attacks in the Metasploit framework and catching them. So one of the things pen testers have to do, part of our trade craft, is rewriting an exploit so it gets past antivirus.
Right.
Yep.
Well, what I've done in Cobalt Strike is I've actually rewritten the Java applet attacks under attacks web drive-by, and I've got the signed applet attack and the smart applet attack, and both of these pass antivirus right now. And if they get caught by antivirus in the future, I give the source code to my customers so they can tweak them if they need to. But the smart applet attack, what it does is it discovers or it figures out which version of Java is running and uses a couple of exploits that are embedded inside of it to try to disable Java's security sandbox. So what we're going to do, in the spirit of this distributed ops piece, I'm going to create a listener on our cloud instance of Cobalt Strike. I'm going to go to Cobalt Strike, Listeners, and I'm going to create a listener for something called Beacon. This is Cobalt Strike's low and slow asynchronous command and control agent, okay? And I didn't set up the DNS records, but Beacon can actually ping you over DNS and check for tasks. We're just going to use the HTTP beacon tonight. Tell it port 80. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And if I had multiple domains or IP addresses for it to beacon back to, I could put those in right here. But otherwise, we've set up a beacon listener. And now what we're going to do, I'm going to come back to localhost, go to attacks, web drive-by, smart applet attack, and we've got a beacon list. We can see the beacon listener that we just defined in our cloud node. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to just define a random Java listener in case we accidentally exploited something that wasn't a Windows system. Then it would fall back to linking in Java interpreter for us. So let me go ahead and just hit launch. Now I'm doing this on my local system just to kind of show you this multiple points of presence piece. Now let's go back to the cloud node. Let's go to attacks, web drive-by, clone site. And just because I really like these guys, I'm going to go ahead and clone linode.com. And I'm not being facetious, I really do like Linode. And let's go ahead and hit embed. And just give it a minute here to show me my Java attack.
Now, do you keep the stuff that you've, exploit-wise, the ones that you've rewritten, do you keep those up to date as new versions of JRE come out, new versions of Java? Or do you kind of follow the, as you know, after there's an MSF module, do you follow that, or how do you keep those current?
So with the Metasploit framework modules, those are dynamically pulled in, so you can launch any Metasploit module that's available to you, including ones you wrote. With Java attacks, I was keeping up to date with new Java exploits, but right now I'm taking a break because there's been so many.
Yeah, understood.
I'm just waiting until they stop. Let me go ahead and hit clone. And there we go, clone to website. So we've got a cloned website here on EC2. We've got the actual exploit sitting here locally, but the payload of the exploit is referencing beacon, which is over here. And if we go to view beacons, anything that's beaconing back will show up in this tab. So let's go ahead and kick off another spear phishing attack. Attack spearfish. Let's go to targets B. Let's go ahead and embed a URL. Again, we can see all the different things we set up. We're going to go ahead and use the clone of linode.com. And we need a template file, so let's go ahead and use one of my Linode password reset message. Oh, I thought I had one. Okay, I'll use PayPal. Let's go ahead and hit send. There we go, message sent. All right, this is going to be like kind of the last having to hop between nodes because I'm going to go ahead and click this link. Click to confirm. I got what looks like a Linode homepage, and nothing special happening on my end as the user. And we have a beacon.
Yep.
We have a beacon coming back. Very cool. We can see that user What a Hog clicked on our thing, workstation 2, process ID 2552. And they last checked in 14 seconds ago, right? So Beacon is Cobalt Strike's asynchronous post-exploitation agent. And what I can do with it, I can tell it to log keystrokes if I'm so inclined. I can also tell it to give me an interpreter session. If I right-click, go to spawn, it will query all the servers I'm connected to, including the local one, and present all the listeners so I can task any of them. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just task a Windows interpreter listener. Let me just create a new one, actually. 5353. Let's save. And let me go ahead and just highlight that and hit choose. And now when Beacon checks in a moment, we should get a task, so long as the task went through before it checked in.
Can you do collaboration stuff that way too? Like if I'm running a local listener on my side MSF, can you pass it to me?
Oh, absolutely. You want to see that?
That'd
Be glad to show you.
I'm not running a listener, but I can if you need.
Well, I'll show you my local host.
Okay.
Here I am, local host, Cobalt Strike, listeners, add. I'll just create local Meterp. Give it Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP. And I can only see the listeners of the systems I'm connected to.
Got it.
So let me just go ahead and hit save. So you can see there's local Meterp. Let's go over here. Right click, spawn, local interpreter, choose. And now,
cool.
In about 10 seconds, when Beacon checks in next, by the way, I can actually task it to execute commands too. When Beacon checks in next, you can see it executed my command for me. If we come over here, there we go. I got a session.
Yep.
Yeah, and just
So it's really
on my
cool
screen,
about this.
I can see the same thing on in my session. Just FYI, I get all the same options and can do all the same stuff as a shared client. I like that.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you have full control over this stuff. The nice thing with Beacon is we told it to log keystrokes too. So if, for example, I went and played the user for a moment. Let's see here. Where am I? Let me go just play the user. Let me go log into something like, let me go log into my webmail. So here I am, Acme Corporation. I'm going to scroll down, webmail login. And I'm just going to put in my information. So I'm just going and logging into some stuff. And maybe I'll compose a message.
I just love it how you can pivot from machine to machine and burrow deeper into the network.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. And I also love where Jim was going with how you can assign tasks and task out different parts of the session to different people. Again, that whole collaborative red teaming thing you do so well, you know?
And if you right-click on that Beacon session and go to Interact, you guys can see the same keystrokes I can.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we can see I was at the Linode homepage when I entered in www.acme.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can see my password, me actually logging in to my webmail.
Governance 123. Yep.
Yep. So, but in any case, we've got a session. We are now in this target's network.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and do the pivoting and burrowing that Dave was talking about. So I'm going to just go ahead and go to Interpreter, pivoting setup.
Hello.
So here you can see we kicked off an ARP scan to just start discovering hosts on this network. Now what's really cool with everything we've done so far, it's been pretty real world in the sense that we're a distributed team. We're connected to one team server in Amazon's cloud, and we're doing post-exploitation against this network.
It's important to note that everything that you've done there is you are pivoted off that original client that clicked the fish. So you're using infection A, and from there we can get so many different places.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah. We just sent What a Hog an email that Java, the smart applet attack, she clicked it.
Yep.
Now we're on that network. Now I'm going to go ahead and kick off some scans and start learning more about these hosts because we can't run Nmap through a pivot. through a Metasploit framework pivot. So we're using a Cobalt Strike and ARMTouch feature that chains a bunch of Metasploit modules together to discover stuff about these hosts. One of the things I'm going to do real quick, just because we happen to know this information, like we know this computer here, Corp, what a hog. I'm going to go ahead and go to host, set label. I'm going to put WS for workstation. I'm going to put the user's name, what a hog, and hit OK. And now it'll show up on your displays and mine in just a minute here.
Nice.
We'll all be able to see this little node. So this is a way that we can actually communicate information about hosts to each other. So let me go ahead and close that. And you can see our scans are actually almost complete. We're starting to discover information about these systems.
Nice.
You can see the icons starting to change, even on your displays too, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of a few hosts we're not going to do anything with. So I'm just going to host, remove host. And just going to drop those hosts. There we go. It looks good to me. There you go. Much better. Now, our scans are pretty much complete, right? We can see several Windows systems and a Linux system. So one of the things you can do with Cobalt Strike's really convenient, even through a pivot, is if I just want to go out to the low-hanging fruit, I can just highlight a bunch of Windows systems, these Windows 2003 and XP systems, and launch MSOH67 against them. For the sake of fun, David, would you be willing to go ahead and do that?
Sure. Where do you want me to go from the hog?
Well, just go ahead and launch MSOH67 against 10.10.10.5, 10.10.10.4, and .18.
And .18. Hold on a second.
And are you still leveraging the original infected client to carry that out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just kicked off 3 exploits against these hosts. So here you can see one host, and here we go. Third one's kicking off here, and we should have 10.10.10.18 in just a moment too. But you can see we've exploited these 3 systems with the low-hanging fruit. And let's see here. I'll just say hi. Welcome back. So now we've exploited these hosts. One of the things we want to do is go token hunting, see if we can find a domain admin token. So if we can leverage that to try to get systems that are patched with PSExec. So let me go over here to 10.10.10.4, and let's do this. Let's go explore, show processes. And I'm going to this system in particular because it's a file server, and because a lot of people connect to file servers, it's usually a good place to hunt for tokens. And we can see that, yes, indeed, there is an administrator token, so I'm going to just go ahead and steal that. So, yeah, I mean, all I did is found a process. And, I mean, I could enumerate not just the processes, but all the threads as well. I could just go to access steal token. That's its own dialog. But I like going for a process token if I can get it. So, but what I'm going to do now that I've just stolen the token, let me just go ahead and highlight these 2 hosts, 10.10.10.3, 10.10.10.189, and go to login, PSExec token. And you're going to see it's actually going to iterate through all my sessions, use the getUID command, tell me which token that session has, and I can actually say, okay, Corp Administrator, and I can pick one of my listeners. I can say, hey, I want to try to upload a Windows Meterpreter or drop a custom executable to a box. So let's just use WinMeterpreter, hit launch. And it's going to go ahead and try to use that stolen token to copy an executable over to these systems, over SMB, and schedule that executable to run. And when the executable runs, we will end up with access to that system. There we go. There's Meterpreter session 5. So you'll see that pop up here, which is the domain controller.
Nice.
And Meterpreter session 6. And so now that we've got these systems, you know, all kinds of fun stuff's possible. Like I can, for example, try to grab a screenshot. You know, let's see here. This is the CEO's box. You know, it's kind of cool. If I want to, I can try to jump in on systems, go to Interact, Desktop VNC. And in a moment here, I will actually get a tab with his desktop.
Now, is it still using the past token to do that, or?
Well, in this case, I'm actually system on this.
So you already got okay, got it.
Yep.
This is the one that we. Okay.
One of the things that's really cool, this is new. The desktop is view only by default. Like I'm moving my mouse around, nothing's happening. So if I go play the user for a second, and keep in mind, there's no hand waving going on here. Like this is all happening over EC2, right? So here I am. You can see this is actually the LinkedIn from when we connected to the system profiler. And here's the LinkedIn message, the repurposed phishing email that I clicked. And so here I am. I'm just clicking through my email. But from Cobalt Strike, if I want to, I can actually unclick the spy button, and now I can take control of the desktop. And I can do things on this system. So the really cool thing about that is the spying, the default view only is good if you just want to watch what a user is doing. But if you want to demo to an executive what you as an attacker can do, it really just sets a great example to show, hey, here's me on your system going through your email. You know, that's really a great way to send a message of what you can do, which is a big part of our job. And so, of course, as well, I don't know if I know Dave likes to do this in the background, but any one of us can actually open up command shells and take screenshots and interact with these hosts, even though we only have one connection to that initial point of presence.
That's really cool, by the way.
Yeah, not so bad. And I guess the last thing, probably the most important thing to customers is the ability to generate a report, right?
Sure. Yep.
So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to View, Reporting, Social Engineering, and I'm going to just go ahead and customize this report slightly. And I can spit out reports as either a PDF file or a Word document.
And you can embed exploits in those PDFs or Word documents as well, and then you gain access to those that read the report.
If I'm feeling like being a really bad person, yeah, I could do that.
Not that would happen.
Never.
Well, here's something I really want to show you that's pretty exciting. Let me go ahead and open up the, oh, how nice, I don't have a PDF reader installed. So you notice I created a virtual machine just for you guys.
Thanks.
So just give me one moment here. I'm going to go ahead and just grab a PDF reader. I'm sure your audience loves seeing me install a PDF reader. And there we go. That went pretty quick. Oh, how nice. Okay, let me put this PDF on. I'm going to go ahead and host the PDF for us, and I'll pull it up locally with my Mac OS X PDF reader. So I'm going to go Social Engineering Report, and I'll just call it report.pdf. I'm going to use Cobalt Strike to basically host this report. And for my local system, I'll go ahead and grab this PDF, and I'll share that file. So let's go do this. Let's go backer.
I think your screen, oh, there it goes.
That's okay, because I'm going to share something else with you in just a second here. So we're going to go, here we go.
Cool.
So here you can see this is the social engineering report I generated, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see we fished 2 users. We did 2 total campaigns. We had 3 total visits. And let's go ahead and go through this information. Something I think that's really important. We hosted the system profiler on one server, but we sent the phishing email from another server, right? Cobalt Strike actually merged the information from all the servers I was connected to. Oops, ignore that. Cobalt Strike merged all the information from all the servers I was connected to give us one picture in the report.
Now, when does the clock start for this individual session? Is it just this connection period, or what indicates the beginning and end of a campaign, if you will?
So basically, it's really easy to stand up Cobalt Strike team servers. So the idea is each server is used for one engagement at a time.
Got it.
And you just go to host clear database, and that restarts everything.
Okay, and then the end is the running of the report.
Yep. Well, and I could generate more reports, continue on with the engagement, whatever I want to do, until I actually go to tell Cobalt Strike to clear the database. It's all cumulative.
Okay.
Well, I imagine it's over when the engagement is over, right, Raph?
Yeah, but ultimately you determine when that is.
Well, that's kind of what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if I went to host clear database, then that basically starts us all over from scratch.
Gotcha.
And I see in our weblog on my client that there was a request to socialengineeringreport.pdf.
Yep, you can see that was me clicking it from my Macintosh to download it. So it's actually kind of a poor man's file sharing feature on top of a hosting your own malicious files. Tax web drive by host file.
There you go.
So that's pretty much Cobalt Strike in a nutshell. I mean, it's got that beacon payload, which gives you that low and slow access.
Yep.
So if we happen to lose a interpreter session, we can get right back. You get that VNC stuff, you get the reporting, you get the spear phishing, the system profiler, the custom Java attacks, all kinds of fun stuff.
Excellent. Very, very cool. I mean, you couldn't ask for a more slick and responsive and easy-to-use interface, really, if you ask me.
No, I agree. And again, it really kind of shows how, a lot of people will bang on it because of the visuals and stuff like that, but it's the visuals that let, an upper manager or somebody understand, look, this is how somebody pops your firewall. This is how they establish a beachhead. This is how they pivot. This is how they burrow in and into your freaking network. This is why you can't get them out of there. So I think the visuals go a long way into helping that, and I think the report is the topper. It's again for, you got to sell it to upper management in some way, and they have to understand this is how they get in, this is how they stay in, and this is why they won't leave you alone.
Absolutely. Now, Raphael, how does the scripting side of it fit into this with Cortana, I believe? Is it basically just scripting this stuff? Does it extend anything?
That's a great question. So Cortana is the scripting technology built into Cobalt Strike and Armitage. It was funded by DARPA's Cyber Fast Track program.
Yep.
And yeah, one of the cool things about Cortana is you can use it to integrate third-party tools. So let's take a quick look at that. I'm going to go to View, Script Console, and I'm going to load a script I wrote to run Windows Credential Editor, which is a great tool written by Hernan Ocha. And my Windows Credential Editor script, all it does is it runs Windows Credential Editor. It uploads it to the team server, which is important. And when it gets the output back, it goes through, parses it, announces the usernames and passwords it discovers to me, announces them to the chat room, and adds the information to the database. So let's go ahead and take a look at this script. So I'm going to go ahead and just load that, load / Cortana script, WCE, WCE.CNA. I'm going to press Control-I to see where I have sessions. And let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to do WCE on box 4. And let's see here, 3. Of course, it's only going to show passwords on systems I'm actually logged into.
Sure.
So
it'd be nice if you can get passwords off systems you're not logged into. That'd be magic, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, no, that would be key. It doesn't always happen that way. So anything where a user's logged in, just give it a minute. Let's see what we get back. So you can see here we've gotten back the username and password for Jim Stevens and Josh Sokol. But if we go look at the event log, you can see that information was announced there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to View Credentials, you'll also see it popping up there as well.
Right. So in a collaborative setting, it's just there for people to immediately see, grab, use, etc.
Yep. That's awesome. All clear text, copy, paste, bang, pass it, everything. That's nice.
Yep.
There it is online.
Very exciting thing. Like over here, if I had a reason to try to use a credential, like let me just do this, SSH login locally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything to SSH login too, but if I go open up a helper for a set of credentials,
there you go. That's great.
Yeah, it'll pop them up. So, or not. So actually, let me do this. I know locally here it will. So yeah, psexec token. That's token. So I'm totally not thinking. Yeah, login psexec. There we go. There's credentials.
There.
So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Any questions for me, guys? Or?
Are you seeing a lot of script development for Cortana or what?
I am, but unfortunately, people who are developing scripts are holding on to them.
Ah, bastards.
I have a public GitHub repository. One of my customers now, back when he was evaluating Cobalt Strike, we did a screen sharing session because he wanted me to add some stuff, and I noticed his Cobalt was different than mine. I'm like, dude, why is your Cobalt different? He's like, oh, one of my employees has become quite the Cortana expert. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. When are you going to contribute to my GitHub repository?
Right. That's exactly right.
So,
do you think they're resistant because does Cortana work just in Cobalt? Forgive my ignorance, or can I use it in Armitage too?
You can use it in Armitage and Cobalt Strike.
Gotcha. Okay, so that alleviates they don't want to do it because they're fearing they're losing some kind of intellectual property that they only want to be using in Cobalt or something, right?
Yeah, no, Cortana's completely open source.
Yeah. Gotcha. I wonder why they're not giving back. That's not right.
That's everybody's prerogative. I mean, some people might be like, think of it as like bash scripting, like, oh, it's just a tiny script. Who's going to need it? Works for me, but, that's their prerogative, and I'm fine with it, so long as they're getting value out of the tool and, it's helping them get their job done more efficiently. That's fine with me.
I'm just, I'm like you and like Jim, we're advocates of contributing back. With scripting and stuff like that. I mean, Jim and I both are big lurkers of mailing lists and stuff like that. And you got to contribute. You got to pay to play.
Yep.
And if you come up with if you find IOCs, if you find TTPs, it's important to share that stuff. And I think scripting is the same way. When somebody's got a script that they can use, like it's important to share that stuff back to the community. I think.
No, agreed.
But I'm preaching to the choir with you, Raph. I know that.
Well, I know it's getting a little bit late, but I appreciate you guys taking your evening and spending it with a little bit of advanced threat tactics with Cobalt Strike.
This was real good stuff. Where's it going from here? What do you think the next step and the next stage is, Raph?
So, good news with Cobalt Strike is I really feel like I'm getting around to the feature set I always envisioned. I'm interested in threat emulation, so I'm watching things like the Mandiant APT1 report. I'm looking at different articles folks put out and saying, how can I help folks emulate that? And some of the things I'm interested in now are some of the harder problems. Like I'm interested in defeating tough egress situations, and I'm becoming keenly interested in helping folks get past two-factor authentication in different situations.
Oh,
it's right up Dave's alley there.
Memory, baby. Memory.
Oh, yeah. I got some ideas I want to explore. And, it's all about what are the hard problems.
Dude, 2FA is not really a hard problem. We'll have a chat about that offline. We're not doing that live in the session here.
No worries. But these are things like
that's a real good nut to crack. You're getting into the area of financial fraud and all other kinds of things. And memory is a real effective way of defeating 2FA. Real effective way of defeating 2FA.
Man, without going further into the conversation here, because we're going to have a fun conversation.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it funny how what process you lives in actually lets you inherit a lot of information that can be used?
Yes, we do indeed love to live in IE Explorer and the Chrome process, don't we? Yes.
Funny about that. Yes.
Well said. Yeah.
So the thing is, though, what's important for us as pen testers, we need the tools criminals are using.
There you go.
Because somebody might say, oh, I get asked all the time, what are you going to do to defeat two-factor? Good luck, Mr. Pen Tester. I'm Defender, I rule. And it's like, dude, don't poke the bear, please.
Yeah.
You know what? Going back to what you were saying, going back to what Jim was saying about IOCs and stuff like that and TTPs. It might be interesting. Is there some way of maybe a module that emulates the IOCs of this group versus that group, right? Like everybody talks about comment, right? Because comment was talked about big time in the APT1 report, right? So maybe maybe you base your attack on only stuff comment does, right? So then you leave behind the trail that comment would leave behind, right? So instead of it looking like Dave Marcus and Jim Walter penetrated the network, it looks like comment crew penetrated the network and stuff because I'm dropping their IOCs, I'm dropping their TTPs, doing stuff like that through Cobalt where you purposely penetrate the network using the tactics of a specific group. That to me is kind of cool. I'm all about stuff like that.
Funny you mentioned that. I haven't heard back on it yet. I don't want to jinx it. Although it is getting long in the date-wise, so I assume negative until I hear positive. I wrote a proposal for exactly that. I'm very interested in the problem of malleable C2. Like, wouldn't it be cool if you're using Cobalt Strike and you, the end user, could say, "This is what Comet Cruise C2 looks like. This is what exactly what their C2 looks like." Wouldn't it be cool if I could just load this little file I wrote up to mimic that into Cobalt Strike? Now all my traffic looks exactly like this actor.
Yeah, expand it to even the low hanging fruit. This is what Black Hole looks like. This is what Zeus general.
You got to even go past that. You got to go past that. You got to go onto the Windows box and drop the registry keys that you're only going to see certain groups and certain attacks using. You got to drop the artifacts only that group is using.
As long as you know what they are, there's no reason you couldn't do it with these existing tools.
It's ridiculous. It's easier, I think, than most people outside of a small group of people realize. And the beauty of something like Cobalt is again, you can actually practice that. And the other good thing about that is you can then take what you learn from Cobalt and then use it to defend the network better, right? You're not just using it to figure out how Comment would own the network or CN would own the network or whoever would own the network, but you're learning how to identify what it looks like on your network when it gets owned, and then you learn how to defend against it, and we all learn something, and the cycle gets a little bit better.
No, absolutely, and more importantly, with Cobalt, you can really do tiered levels of activity. Like you can do levels.
Yep.
Yeah, you can say, "Hey, look, I'm going to attack you like a script kiddie. I'm going to use Meterpreter because let's be honest, nation states and criminals don't use active rats. Like they're all relying on a synchronous C2, something like Beacon. So, I can do like what the open source tools can do. I can step it up a notch. I can make my fishes be as sophisticated as you need or as dumb as you want, just so you can see how well your defenses catch that range of activity.
Yep. And there's that great thing. That's what I actually like about the report too, is when you're focusing in on the initial pivot point where the initial box inside the network got owned. That's the most important one, is how did that box get owned, right? Was it a Lobby attack that got it owned, or was it something elite that got it owned? With it, did the brother got to use an O-Day on it, or was it just some schlub who hit a LinkedIn email and stuff? That kind of stuff is real valuable.
Brother hit a Java applet.
9 times out of 10, it's going to be the Lobby attack that owns the network initially, and that kind of intel is so valuable, man, so valuable.
Indeed. Well, this has been fantastic. If I want to know more about Cobalt Strike and all the stuff you're doing, or purchase it, or get in touch with you regarding training, etc., what do I do?
All right, I can share that with you. That's interesting.
Raph, you keep eating your pen, you're not going to be hungry for dinner, dude. Okay?
I like my pen. That's what I do. I chew my pen. I keep thinking I'm in like the comforts of my own apartment. If you want to learn more about Cobalt, go to here's the website here. Go to www.advancedpentest.com.
Awesome.
And there's a 21-day trial, and you can I just need an email address. It can be a Gmail account, doesn't matter. And you can download it, give it a try, and see how well it meets your needs.
Excellent.
And if you're going to develop Cortana scripts, share them back to the community, people.
Absolutely.
Jim, what do you got? Raph, anything else you want to finish with? I think we covered a lot of great ground. I think we covered the tool extensively. I think we showed off its power. We showed how you can use it to really get people to understand how you own a network, drop a beachhead, pivot, burrow into it. Is there anything we didn't cover with Cobalt?
No, I think we gave it a pretty thorough run through. I mean, we didn't have the time to go into VPN pivoting. That's something Core Impact, Metasploit Pro, and Cobalt Strike do. We didn't get a chance to go into a lot of the other post-exploitation stuff. There's just a rich set of capability. But that's part of the fun of the tool, is going through the documentation and the videos and exploring it.
Do you find in your engagements and stuff that you spend most of your times with your customers on post-exploitation stuff? And I know Cobalt is exceptionally good at post-exploitation, but is it your experience that most customers get to understand post-exploitation, or is it really that do they spend most of their time on the initial pop and the initial drop?
Back when I was doing red teaming work, which is not now, I do full-time software development. That's all I do. back when I was doing red teaming work, it was a mix. I mean, they wanted to see the initial pop. I had a DoD target, so it was more a lot of planning and a lot of figuring out how to get past different defenses. But they wanted to see how far we could go. So it was very important that we got a beachhead to try to hold it, to demonstrate that, yes, I can evade your ability to see me. I can own this box. I can see data as it walks into your network, etc.
Gotcha. Just curious as to what your experience was with that and how that influenced the way you developed the kind of interface that became Cobalt Strike, right? Yeah, I was just curious. That makes perfect sense. Jim, you got any parting words, final words of wisdom for people out there?
I think we've covered a lot. It's a lot to digest, but I mean, just on that point that you just made, Cobalt Strike does a really, really good job at illustrating and visualizing the fact that it's not always a complex task to get into a host or a network. A lot of times people really concentrate, how did this get in? How did this happen? What did it get through? What did it bypass, etc.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just as simple as a spam or phish email or a drive-by download or any of those boring things that happen a bazillion times a day. It's not always a fancy, single-use zero-day that was sold on some foreign market, blah, blah, blah. Oftentimes a lot more easy, and this explains how that can be done and shows how it can be done in 5 minutes or so and step by step, and you get a pretty report. It's just a great tool, so I like it.
Awesome, and I agree. And the final thought I would give is a lot of people don't understand post exploitation, and Cobalt is fantastic for that. They really don't understand. Even if you look at the media, most people focus on how the network got owned. Ooh, it was Uber O-Day. Ooh, we got O-Days, right? That is what it is, right? They really don't realize that the real magic and skill actually happens once the network is owned. What are they doing to stay persistent? What are they doing to stay there? What are they doing to keep evading detection? All those kinds of things. How are they pivoting? How are they doing all these different things? Cobalt is a great tool to teach that and bring that out. And all you people out there need to get a frickin' license of it right now and start working it. And I say that without Raph giving me bennies or anything like that. I think the tool is a great tool for bringing that out, and because it focuses on post-exploitation, and more people really need to understand that. Raph, as always, sir, we thank you for your time. I think another session's focusing solely on post-exploitation. VPN exploitation, I think, would be very hot. I think that would be very cool, so we would love to do that in the future.
Oh, VPN pivoting is a neat feature, so I'd be glad to chat about that. Just imagine this, like setting up a covert VPN, staging a rogue SMB service, and using something like dropping a LNK file onto a share to get people to hit it.
That's
and
awesome.
Your rogue SMB server relaying those authentications to another box that you're trying to get, and eventually get domain controller that way.
I'm so digging it. I'm so digging it. And we should have a little offline discussion about some of that other stuff. And then I can see that as a feature in an upcoming release of Cobalt Strike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Jim, as always, thanks for the time. Raph, again, appreciate the time you showed with us tonight. And everybody out there, we'll see you all soon.